Hi guys, welcome back. So this is my spoiler-filled review of Spider-Man: Brand New Day. I swear, if you have not seen this movie, do not watch this review because I will be spoiling the fuck out of this movie. I have recently posted a spoiler-free review on this channel. Go and watch that, then go and watch the film, then come back and watch this. Good? 3, 2, 1, let's get into it. So, as I said in my spoiler-free review, the whole premise of this movie is that Peter Parker is just Spider-Man all the time now. He's Spider-Man 24/7. He has no life outside of being Peter Parker. And because of the isolation, his DNA has started to mutate and make him a bit more feral and a bit more spider-like. And I heard people, comic book fans were saying, oh, are they going to do like the man spider storyline? Now, I don't know anything about this, but apparently it's when he starts to mutate a lot more and he can't control it. And I was like, oh, that's a really interesting direction to take it in. So he ends up going to Bruce Banner, who I didn't really mention in my spoiler-free review. He's not really a spoiler. There is kind of a spoiler for what happens later on, but we'll get into that. So, Sadie Sink is the villain in this movie. And Sadie Sink, wait for it, is Jean Grey. I know! Because there was so much speculation. Like, everyone knew that Sadie Sink was in it, but no one knew who she was playing. It was like, is she going to be like Spider-Gwen? Is she going to be this version of Mary Jane Watson? Because Zendaya is MJ, but she's Michelle Jones. She's not Mary Jane Watson. So there was this whole kind of like speculation of who she was going to be. So yes, she is Jean Grey. There's even a point in the film where I sort of guessed it because because obviously Jean Grey, she's like Professor X, she's a telepath, but she can like get inside people's heads and control them. And she even says to Peter while she's possessing someone, like, oh, you have a problem with people who are different? She says something like that. And I was like, that sounds like something that a mutant would say. And I was like, mutant? Telepath? Is she Jean Grey? And then it was revealed later on, her name comes up, like, oh, she is Jean Grey. Cool. And the thing that puzzled me was like, oh, she's evil out of the gate. Usually we build to this, like the Phoenix and that. But no, this isn't the Phoenix. What this is she is on a mission to find her lost sister, Sarah Grey, who has the same powers as her, but she got taken away like way back when. So yeah, Jean Grey wants to find out what happened to her. Again, it's Marvel doing this thing like, we've got villains that aren't really villains, they're just misunderstood. I'm like, I don't mind that, but give us a villain who's just evil. I mean, with Doomsday, Doctor Doom, yeah, they're probably going to give him a tragic backstory on why he became Doctor Doom, but I know that guy's just going to be fucking evil. There's never going to be a part where Thor puts his hand on Doom's shoulder and goes, you don't have to do this. I'm like, no, he's going to decimate the fucking universe. Anyway, getting off topic. So, there is one thing about Sadie Sink as Jean Grey which I thought was a little bit puzzling, which was she's on this really emotional mission to find her sister, like really. So why does she bother like taunting Spider-Man? Surely she treats Spider-Man more like an irritant. She'd be like, you're in my way. Why are you in my way? Get out of my way. This doesn't concern you. That's what she should have been like, from my personal opinion. But the fact that she's like blowing up fucking facilities with a bomb attached to a tank, and she's just like jumping into different people and taunting Spider-Man, like, oh, did you forget about what's in the tank? I was like, it just feels like a weird personality shift, particularly like in the back half of the movie where she's really emotional. Like, what happened to my sister? I need to know. I'm like, you were being snarky and, a bit taunty earlier, and now it's like suddenly really serious. I just thought the switch was a bit off. I prefer her being more emotional and more kind of angry of what happened to her sister, and it leads to a great scene later on, which we will get into. But yeah, I mean, there's even a scene where she threatens, like, I'm going to go and visit your girlfriend. And Spider-Man has to, like, swing and, like, get to MJ before she does. And he takes MJ to, like, this top of this roof. And there's this scene where MJ started to go, I do remember you, Peter. And then they have this really emotional moment and they kiss. And Spider-Man's like, Peter, rather, is holding her and he's in tears. And that whole scene, I was like, this seems a bit too convenient that she just remembers. And it's not until she says, what's it she says? She says something like, go on, Peter, hold her tighter. And I'm just like, oh fuck, it's Jean. She got to her first. And also there's a bit where it's like, what? I mean, the fact they're saying, oh, she's not really a villain. I'm like, she possesses MJ, makes out with Peter, which technically means that Peter Parker's made out with Jean Grey. It's weird. And then like she gets MJ to like fall off a building and goes, catch me. And then she jumps out of her mind just before she's about to hit the ground so that MJ suddenly goes, oh, fuck, and, I'm like, why would you do that? And there's even a point where she possesses a guy and then makes him walk into the street and he gets hit by a fucking car. And I'm like, that guy's dead. But by the end of it, it's like, oh, but she's just looking for her sister. She doesn't want to hurt anyone. I'm like, I mean, that guy's dead. Anyway, I spent a long, long time on Jean Grey. What else should we get into? So yeah, the whole kind of feral thing with Spider-Man in the idea that he can't control his powers anymore. He starts getting like organic webs, like Tobey Maguire does in the Raimi trilogy. Because there's even like a scene in, as we say, from No Way Home where Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield are putting their web shooters together, and Tobey Maguire just goes, and he's like, you guys can't do that? And they're like, no, we have to put our web shooters together. And it's a hassle, But no, Tom Holland, now because he's started to mutate, he's getting these great sort of like, he can do organic webs, but obviously he can't control it because with web shooters, it's like he can choose when he can do it. He can choose like the different styles. With this, it's just fucking, there's a scene where he's just like all over the place. that was a great scene. And there's this really good scene. Again, I'm going to be jumping all over the place. I had notes for my spoiler-free review. I don't have notes for this one. I'm literally just as it's coming in my head. I should have been more prepared, guys. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm just doing it as it comes to me. There's a great scene where Jean manages to possess Hulk, but he's Professor Hulk, and him and Spider-Man fight, and there's a way where he manages to kick her out. I believe he manages to kick her out and then turns back to Bruce. And then he suddenly goes, she's broken something inside. She must have broken something. And that's when he transforms back into the OG Hulk. And I'm like, oh, is this how they're going to bring OG Hulk back? That Jean gets in his head and Professor Hulk is no more. And we've got the proper Hulk back. I was like, yes, finally. Because let's be honest, I don't know about you guys, but Professor Hulk, he was great in Endgame. Beyond that, I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored of this character. Can we just bring the original Hulk back, But yeah, there's this great fight scene between him and Spider-Man. And there's a great fucking scene where Spider-Man's trying to like, doing his thwipping kind of webs where he's trying to web a load of debris to Hulk so he can't quite get to him. And Hulk manages to pin him down. He's about to fucking punch him. And there's a great camera shot where you can actually see Peter's eye through his spider goggles. And he says, Bruce, I'm your friend. And Hulk's about to, and he just kind of gets it. And he kind of lets go at him. And he lets the debris that's been webbed to him just kind of take him. He just kind of falls off the building. And I do like that moment. I'm very intrigued to see where they take Hulk from here on out. Because now that we've got OG Hulk back, it's going to be so much fun. Also, Punisher. Now, I was worried that I would have to watch the TV series to understand the Punisher's deal. And you don't need to. You need to know just one thing. He was a guy whose wife and daughter were killed, and now he's just this ruthless vigilante. I mean, he fucking kills people. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. You got into his character very, very quickly. And I mentioned this in my spoiler-free review. The back and forth banter he has with Spider-Man is great. I even like the banter he has with MJ, where because she's a little bit like him as well, and he goes, I like her, and I really enjoyed that. So we're building up to when we get to why Jean is doing what she's doing. She's looking for her sister. They capture Jean. Obviously, Spider-Man doesn't know this at the time. He just thinks, oh, I'm just doing this because she's a villain. But then he realizes, oh, the guy who I was helping has actually been lying to me. Jean is doing this for a legitimate reason. I'm not going to stop her now. I need to help her. So they lock her in this room where they put this inhibitor on her where she can't use her powers, but they can activate her powers. And so they find out what makes her tick. And then she realizes that, oh, my sister died in this room. You tortured her to death. And that gives her so much power. And she does this thing which is boom, and everyone within like a kilometer of where she is just frozen in time. A bit like Professor X in Logan. That sort of thing where no one can move and everyone's sort of like, oh fuck, are they all going to die? And she basically straps the guy down who basically was responsible for torturing her sister and is about to like stick a load of glass shards in his face. Spider-Man using his fellness and embracing the fellness finally of like, I'm Peter Parker and I'm Spider-Man, and makes him so much stronger. Finally gets to her and goes, you don't have to do this. You're not a killer. I'm like, I mean, she killed a guy. Guy got hit by a car because of her. But anyway, forget that. And there's a really good point where previously she couldn't get inside his mind because obviously, I think because of his spider sense or something. But she stands up and she kind of freezes him and says, you know, I can get inside your head now. I'm more powerful. And the way that Peter just looks at her and goes, go ahead, and lets her in. And it shows this really emotional scene with Aunt May. But the way that it's framed, it's like she's talking to Jean and not Peter. And she says the same things like, you know, I know it's tough, but, you know, I know it's hard being different, but you don't have to do this alone. And there's this really emotional moment where Jean realizes that Peter's actually been dealing with a lot of what she's been dealing with loss, with grief, with trying to understand how to do this alone and realizing you don't have to do this alone. And there's a scene where, you know, obviously while this is all happening, the Punisher's just set up and he's just like, oh, fuck this, I'm going to deal with this. And he sets up a sniper. He goes to shoot Jean and Spider-Man just grabs her and moves her out of the way and realizes he's been shot. And there was a point where I was like, no, they're not going to kill Spider-Man. And then you start to see like the pool of blood behind him just get bigger and bigger and bigger, like the pool of blood on the floor. And I thought to myself, I don't remember seeing him in the Doomsday trailer. And I thought, are they going to kill him? They don't. Don't worry, he's fine. I think Tom Holland as Spider-Man, he's way too valuable to this franchise. You can't just kill him. But the fact that Punisher goes, oh shit, what have I done? And carries him into the hospital and stays him in the hospital. That's, again, it's an emotional moment and it's great. And yeah, it's just, the more I'm talking about it, the more I sit on it, the more I go, do you know what? This might be my favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what they do moving forward, because there is a bit at the end where obviously MJ still doesn't know who he is, and she says, you know, I'm sorry, but you're not, I don't remember you. You may remember me, but I don't remember you. That part of my life is gone. But there's a cool bit at the end where he sees Ned in the shop that he goes to buy flowers for Aunt May for, and sees him, and they start doing their little handshake, and Ned's kind of confused, and they start doing the, and then it ends with Peter, and then it just ends. I was like, so Ned remembers, and I just sat there going, part of me was like, that's really nice, and another part of me went, bullshit. You know, this Doctor Strange magic is no match for the power of what? Friendship handshakes. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on it too much. I thought it was fun. So, yeah, those are my spoiler-filled review thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day. I don't believe I've left anything out. I think I've pretty much given it to you bare bones and all. But yes, do not watch this review. Well, obviously, it's too late now because you've sat through it all, unless you've skipped right to the end. But hey, so yes, those are my spoiler-filled thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I'm really looking forward to going to see this movie again, and I'm so looking forward to see what they do with Spider-Man in the future of the MCU. So yeah, as again, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, give us a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe and stay tuned for more reviews very soon. Catch you later.